Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia Chapter 249. And, okay, even before I get into the review, how's this for a little bit of weirdness? I was pretty much, pretty much for the past hour or so, I was waiting on pretty much the manga stream site, which is from what I hear from people, is the go-to site. Which is the go-to site in order to get the translation up-to-date translations of basically of all the latest like shonen manga and whatnot. But but it never popped up. I actually had to go on I had to go on the my on I guess like the My Hero Academia page or something in order to get in order to read this chapter. Like, what? It's just one of those things where supposedly the pretty much trusted go to site didn't update it on time. Like, huh? But I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like, Manga Stream, I'm sure is like any other site that's probably pirating it. But still, if still Manga Stream's not keeping up with this on time, it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah. Anyway, getting into into the chapter itself. So correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but in this chapter, we see the name of Endeavor's head sidekick is Burnin. That's pretty much name of the head sidekick who's wearing like I guess he's wearing that outfit that were a little bit of like a nurse battle outfit and has the flaming hair. Her name is Burnin, and is that the first time we've heard her name being mentioned in conversation? Or have the characters mentioned in previous chapters? Because if not, I think that's the longest time we've gone without an official name drop for a character. Like I said, I don't know if that's the first time we've heard her name, and it was probably in another. And yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if it was in another chapter and I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, it's like I was suddenly surprised that I was just suddenly surprised like from Burnin's her name. Oh, all right. Yeah, that's kind of just a little bit of clarification I kind of want is if we've already gotten her name, I guess just leave it in the comments below. Um, but yeah. So, but despite having and but yeah, aside from that, the chapter in itself, it was very quaint and very self-contained, and it kept it so, and there wasn't a whole lot of like action to it. It was very self-contained within pretty much Todoroki home, and yeah, and so yeah, despite having little action in the chapter, it's still fair to say this was definitely an emotionally tense chapter for the Todoroki for for I suppose you could say like from Todoroki and his family, and and the thing with this chapter is that you can clearly see that that basically Fuyumi, Natsu, and Shoto, they and even Endeavor too, they're all trying their damnedest to mend bridges, but the problem is no one even has a clear answer about how they can even start that process of forgiveness. Like literally, they're if you really look at this chapter, they all want to start the process of healing and forgiving, but they're at an impasse, a literal impasse. They have no idea how to move forward. They're pretty much stuck in in a pretty much loop of like how are we supposed to do this? Like they pretty much literally have no answers. And again, going off what I've said before, this again, I'm really liking how this is kind of I pretty much never I've never I'm lucky enough to have not grown up in a broken home, so I'm not gonna pretend like I would pretty much know what it's like, but I imagine like so far that Horikoshi is handling this in probably the most mature and realistic way imaginable, and I know that there are probably going to be people who are going to start having complaints later. They're going to start having complaints like from later on in terms of the pacing, and how Horikoshi has been going like extremely slow with this part of the story. I still kind of appreciate how Horikoshi has been going at this very slow and steady pace with this, because it just proves there's no easy answer to this, and I'm just glad and he even addressed one of my biggest fears in this chapter, which is that he pretty much didn't jump into pretty much immediate forgive into a thing of immediate forgiveness when it came to Fuyumi, um, and yeah, and getting back to Endeavor for a minute here, with Endeavor himself, you can definitely see he himself is looking for those answers. He basically wants to he wants to start over on a clean slate. He wants to be part of his family again. But and he's still, and like the others, he's still searching for those answers of how he can mend these fences. But but the bigger problem for Endeavor is that unlike his children who are holding on to hope, Endeavor is actually losing hope. So it's like something is just gonna have to give in order. Something is just gonna have to like from a shock. He's gonna have to bring just a sudden shock to like everyone, where they just kind of or they just kind of all suddenly just where it just kind of forces everyone to just kind of like pretty much like almost, I don't want to say forgive each other, but just kind of move on, or something. Like, it's again, this is just such a this is probably like again the pretty much best way. This I'm just, yeah, again, this is just like this is the best, like the most emotionally gripping. This is probably the most emotionally gripping part of My Hero Academia thus far. I'll leave it at that for sure. Um, oddly enough, though, the only aspect of this part of the chapter I didn't like was Bakugo's outbursts. I mean, I get it; those moments were definitely weight in order to relieve the tension, but when it came to Bakugo in this chapter and all of his outbursts of trying to relieve the tension and whatnot, his outbursts did kind of take me out of the moment as well. So it's like I get that Bakugo was kind of there for the comedy and the levity portion, but the thing is, it was kind of a little too excessive. And actually, Izuku's awkward moments felt like a more natural comedic contrast compared to Bakugo's constantly yelling at the top of his lungs. So yeah, there's that too. Also, while I'm on Izuku, the funny thing with him in this chapter is that, like, after hearing him describe the food he was being served in so much detail, it makes me kind of think that it made me kind of think that Izuku, if this whole hero thing doesn't end up working out for you in any form, I think you have a pretty good. I think you have a pretty good. You'd have a pretty good future as a culinary chef, dude. Just saying, or something. I don't know. But yeah, and yeah, let's talk about the reveal at the end of this chapter, where we basically get the revelation of the third son, Toya. And it's not too big a surprise. It's not too big a surprise considering considering we've already established that Endeavor had at least a couple children in order to create his idea of the perfect hero to best All Might. But from here, the context is going to be very interesting, because just based on the memorial, it's more than obvious Toya is probably dead. But in that fraction of the 1% possibility that we end up getting some manner of reveal that he's from some manner of reveal or some manner of a hint that he's still alive, then we might have just gotten confirmation to a long-standing theory people have had that pretty much Toya is Dabi. However, it's one of those things too where I can't make a genuine call on either of these until we get the details of the actual backstory and what happened, which assumingly we're gonna get next week. And so it's definitely fair to say that whatever happens next week, it is going to have a plethora of information revealed to us. We're finally gonna get the pretty much nuts, the pretty much basic, the one thing obviously above all else that's gonna get revealed here is we're basically gonna learn how all of this even started to begin with. And yeah, I'm and whatever is revealed from this, I'm definitely more on board than ever before. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.